couldn't see the writing on the wall.
Hey, greetings. Freddy DeMarco here at DeMarco School of Music for another warm audio deconstructing of the mix. This one is for Cold Cold Hands that my fusion band, the Juxtaposers, did with Dave Brooks. So this is the deal. I told everyone to show up at 12 noon, and we had to be out by 4 because lessons start. So I had we actually all had to get to teaching. So no one knew anything, no preconceived notions. We just knew we were going to make a song. So in that amount of time, we had to do lighting, 3 cameras, all the patching of the patch bay, all the sound checking, setting up the instruments, write and learn a song together. So we're in there with amps, bass, guitar, and drums, and Dave Brooks is in, here the control room trying to write words. He'd join us and work with us on the arrangement of the song. We got it, and I needed the type of players that can play from beginning to end a song, keeping the groove without mistakes and that kind of thing. So we had that. Bobby Stalker on drums and John McComb really complemented this riff I started, and we kept it kind of funky, James Brownie. So again, an organic type of thing. And the warm audio stuff really makes it, very easy to get really cool color into your tone quickly. So everything had to be on point and hit on all 8 cylinders today to make this happen. We barely had time. Like we cut it live, so we cut the song live. Then I did an overdub with the lead. I barely had time to basically change the shirt, come in the control room. That was cut live, though, because I turned on the camera. I spent a little time coming up with something for the lead, then just turned on the camera, cut it live. Same with Dave's vocal. That was also cut live. We messed around with it a little bit, and then the camera just ran and played. So we had to work quickly, and again, the warm audio did awesome. We had the 412 pre's on all the drums. We also ran his vocal through the 412 pre's and my lead guitar through the 412 pre's as the overdubs. I used on the drums an Audio-Technica microphone that's a stereo mic for the kick, so it had a condenser and a dynamic in there. The snare was a CAD D89 on the top, a 57 on the bottom, a large diaphragm on the hat. I used a 414 because this hat I wanted really part of the song with that James Brown type beat. And in a trio, I'm not looking at it like they're backing up a guitar. Everyone's kind of equal, and I wanted that hat to be very much part of the mix. 421s on the toms. Overheads, the major lifting on the drums were overhead were the WA87s, measured 50 inches from the center of the snare. Then I had a room mic, very special mic that we used on both the vocal and the room. This is a new mic that's going to be coming out by Warm Audio. We're beta testing it. It's in their catalog. It's a 414 style microphone. But we're not going to feature it too much because, again, it's not out yet. But, boy, did it work wonderful. Awesome as a room mic on the drums and just crushed on Dave's voice. We love it. That's all routing. Those drums are all routing to the drum bus. I do have an API 2500 bus compressor lightly touching it. And in the mix, there's WA stuff all the way through that, as there was on the tracking session. Bass, we mic'd up with an RE20. There was basically a 18-inch speaker and an ISO booth, but you could still you'll hear the bleed because it was live on the drum track. The guitars were in stereo. It was a one take, but yet 2 different amplifiers, I believe a 421 and a 57. Sometimes I like the CAD ribbon mic, and I'll use that. The lead overdub was definitely, I want to say, the CAD ribbon mic, and on the other one, I actually used the new Warm Audio, the 414 style microphone, and there was a voice track. So on the kick drum, the snare, and the voice, we did parallel compression, where I had a separate channel routed to WA compressors, crushing the heck out of them, and then bleeding that in a little bit. So let's get started here. The drum bus is on. Here is the condenser. Here is a dynamic. Here's both. Now I have a parallel, and this is just the parallel channel. That's being crushed by a a Warm Audio 76. Here's our kit. Now, moving on to the snare, top snare, bottom snare. I use the WA412 reverse to reverse the polarity on the snare, because when 2 mics are facing each other, they're out of phase. This put it back into phase, just reversing the bottom. Then I have a parallel WA76 mixing in. Also on the snare is a Pultec style WAEQ, the tube EQ in on that. And on some of these channels, certainly the guitar channel and the bass channel, I ran through my console, so I have the TOF, which are the Trident style EQs in on that. But pretty much did not have to do that to the drums at all. They're all they were fine. So here would be the toms. I have some Chris Lord Algae plugins on the toms. We were working quickly. The presets worked just fine for as quick as we needed to work. Here's that room mic crushed on, I tracked it. I used a WA76 and a 4-button move to get that kind of saturated harmonic style distortion and compression on the drum. And you can hear it sucking in the bass a little bit on the bleed. Here are the 87 overheads mixed in with the room. I'm going to start adding, I'll put the drum verb in with just a little bit on the snare and the toms, and I will go through now, adding in the close mics. All right, cool. Now we'll move on to the bass. So the bass, I actually copied a channel of the bass and made one low and one high, like a crossover situation. Disable the drums real quick here. So there's your high, the high one, and then the low one. Now they're both routing to this bus. It's not parallel, it's just routing here. So this is really cool. If you don't have much outboard gear, you could route both the channels instead of using a compressor on each just to one, and I have it on a 2-way, gripping it at about a -5. So it's really gripping the bass nicely. And I have one of the EQPs, the Warm Audio tube EQs on that as well. So here's our bass. On the guitars, the two guitar cabinets I set kind of raw. So on the left side, I did run these through LA3As actually. Get to the main riff here. Here's the left amp. The right amp. A little bit different color. I have a Teleray delay up here. And I'm using a little bit of EQ correction. Actually, that's quite a bit. I'm actually really influencing that guitar. But they also hit the Trident style EQs on my TOF board a little bit. So here's... Now, the lead was an overdub, so the lead is a little bit different. I opened up the Teleray delay a little bit more on the left side. Just like on the original, this side's more dry on the original track, the rhythm. This is a little drier. There's a little bit of delay. And then more reverb on this track. So here would be the lead track. So let's listen to that with some of the grease, the additional verb and delay. Okay, then moving on to the voice, the vocal. We have a gate on there, a little bit of auto-tune. It was in G Dorian, so I put on an F major for those of you that know theory. And he doesn't need it. He's in the dead center of the note, but we were working so quick that day, I wanted to make sure we were covering it because we mixed it quickly as well. We took about 25 minutes to mix it. I do have a doubler on it. That spread it out. It was a quick way of spreading it out. I took down some of the high end from the preset. And then, of course, we're hitting him with an EQ, the WAEQ, and he's going 1176 and into a WA2A for limiting. And then we're running a parallel channel, which is really crushing with a 76. So check it out.
Follow the signs that lie.
Here's the parallel.
Can you feel it?
A lot of nice misbehaving stuff there, and I'll just bleed that in a little bit for some attitude on the peaks.
Follow the signs that lie.
Now with the verb and delay.
Follow the signs that lie. To find the...
And there it is.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it with your cold, cold hand?
Okay, you see nothing coming out of the master bus because the reason is I'm going out of my last piece directly into the camera. So the master bus is a SSL bus compressor, and then I'm hitting 2 Pultec style EQs. I like them after the compressor. Tried them before and after. In this case, we like them after, the WA EQs. And then hitting a Manley Varimute just a little bit, and that was my way of getting XLR out of that into my camera. So you don't get the L2. You're not hearing the L2 in this version, but I'm using that for just a little bit of gripping on the overall mix because I use more compressors with less compression and limiting on a 2-bus. And this is also dithering when I burn it. And, of course, I have a little bit of noise reduction on there. I do that mostly unless I hear something. So there we have it. It's grooving.
Cold as winter's bird, never ever follow the signs.
Boy, we had fun that day. So I want to really thank you, though, for joining me. Freddy DeMarco here at DeMarco School of Music for Warm Audio. And I want to make mention that Warm Audio really made this possible to have a real sound to it. I mean, I didn't have to manipulate plugins. These, if I want something to misbehave and get more attitude on a bass or whatever when we were tracking, boy, just one turn of the knob. And these things, I mean, they're simple to use and they're the real deal. And we really appreciate such a great price point so we could have so many of them. And not just professionally, but also for the school. So we're, being able to have the opportunity to turn young, new mixing people onto hardware gear. So I'd like to thank you guys. See you next time.